affects our daily lives more than anything else. So I wind up being up on them pretty good. But lately, the conservatives have just got me wound up about, the cultural and social issues. And the next one I have to take them up on is the war. I have refrained from making any posts on a war up till now, but I feel like, it's time to speak out about this, if not past time. And this is one issue where I am really, I don't know, it's the only issue really where I'm conflicted. And I guess my strong libertarian friends are going to say I'm not 100% libertarian on this, although I think in the final analysis you'll see that my position comes down at a strong libertarian position. But I guess the reason I say I'm not 100% libertarian on it is because I'm conflicted. On the economic issues and everything, there's no doubt. But I am at least conflicted on this. When you get to thinking about this will probably have to go into two posts, but this issue is not as easy as a lot of the people on the left want to make it to be, and even a lot of libertarians want to make it to be. This war is not simply, blood for oil. It's not Bush lied, our men died. It's not that simple. And people that want to use that as a justification or as reasoning as to why we should end this war are really misguided. That is really a cop-out. Either one of those claims that this is a war about oil or that Bush somehow just lied because this was an agenda that he had preconceived. He may well have had a preconceived idea, but he did not concoct some story just to go in Iraq. Let me take it from the other side first, and then I'll tell you where I'm going to wind up. 16 U.S. intelligence agencies said that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. If Bush had a preconceived idea, he had a lot of backing. He had a lot of quote-unquote evidence to use. 16 U.S. intelligence agencies said that he had weapons of mass destruction. Bill Clinton, if you will Google Bill Clinton Iraq speech, it'll come up with a speech he made on December 15th, I think, one year, where he talked about how he was bombing Iraq because of their nuclear and weapons of mass destruction programs. He said it was absolutely necessary that we stop Saddam Hussein from enhancing his nuclear capabilities. Nuclear. This is Bill Clinton. He used weapons of mass destruction in that speech probably 10 times. He talked about how this was an evil tyrant that had to be stopped, etc., etc., etc. This was not just a Bush agenda. We made 14, 16, 17 UN resolutions that said if Saddam refused to submit to inspections, the world community would have to minutes.